This is Heath Ledger. He was a wildly famous Australian actor, well known for his starring roles in movies like The Dark Knight, 10 Things I Hate About You, and The Patriot. Unfortunately, 17 years ago today, Heath was found deceased in his New York apartment at the young age of 28 years old. If we're just now meeting for the very first time, hello, my name is Stacy. I am a paramedic and EMS instructor, and I create EMS educational content. And in this specific series, we dive into the high-profile celebrity cases in order to give an EMS perspective. As a teacher, I'm always trying to look at unique and different ways to teach and to learn, and that is what inspired this series. Although they all end tragically, I truly believe that we can learn from all of these cases. Let's take a look at the reported sequence of events on January 22nd, 2008. It was reported by Heath Ledger's housekeeper that she needed to change a light bulb. She walked into his room, changed the light bulb, noted that he was sleeping and snoring at the time. A couple of hours later, he had a massage scheduled, and his masseuse arrived, knocked on the door, nobody answered, and pushed in the door, got everything set up, and noted that whenever she went to wake him, he was unresponsive and not breathing. It was reported that when the masseuse realized that Heath was no longer breathing at 3 p.m., she made multiple phone calls to Mary-Kate Olsen. Mary-Kate Olsen, also a wildly famous actress, was reported to have been very close to Heath Ledger in the months before his death. At approximately 3:26 is when 911 was officially called and the masseuse was instructed to administer CPR. Emergency medical services arrived to Heath Ledger's apartment less than 10 minutes later, and at approximately 3:36 p.m., Heath Ledger was pronounced dead. Allegedly, prescription sleeping pills, anti-anxiety pills, and pain pills were found on scene. The medical examiner eventually went on to rule this death accidental as a result of acute intoxication of temazepam, alprazolam, diazepam, oxycodone, hydrocodone, and Unisom. Although this wasn't reported on the medical examiner report, I do believe it's important to note several people close to Heath Ledger said that he was struggling with walking pneumonia prior to his death and that he had chronic insomnia. There were even reports of cocaine abuse, although none of that was found in his system at the time of his death. In 2017, a forensic pathologist went on to say that what was actually fatal for Heath Ledger was the combination of the oxycodone and the hydrocodone, specifically the narcotics. Looking at this from an EMS perspective, it's unclear when Mr. Ledger stopped breathing. We know that at around 1 p.m., the housekeeper reported he was snoring. At 3 p.m., the masseuse reported she found him unresponsive and not breathing in bed. Could be as long as 2 hours, could be as short as 10 minutes. We just simply don't know. 911 was not alerted to this until 3:26 or around 3:26 p.m., at which time they instructed CPR to be performed, but that's unclear if that actually happened either. EMS arrived less than 10 minutes later, and at around 3:36, Heath Ledger was pronounced dead. We don't know if CPR was administered, if defibrillation happened. Most likely it didn't. Most likely EMS arrived on scene and they realized Mr. Ledger had not been breathing for quite a while. So taking a look at the medications that were in his system, he had 2 narcotics, oxycodone and hydrocodone. He had 3 benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines are from the anti-anxiety drug class. They were temazepam, alprazolam, and diazepam. And then he also had Unisom in his system. Unisom is an over-the-counter antihistamine that helps people sleep, so it's a sleep aid. As EMS providers, we do have options in the case of an overdose. In the case of a narcotic overdose, we can administer the antidote, which is Narcan. In the case of a benzodiazepine overdose, we can administer the antidote, which is called flumazenil. Flumazenil isn't typically seen on an ambulance, but it is carried in the emergency room or hospital setting. However, unfortunately, once a patient has not been breathing for an extended period of time, which seems to be the case in the death of Heath Ledger, there is not much we can do as pre-hospital providers, or even if we took these patients into the hospital. Once the brain and the heart and the body have been starved of oxygen, there's just simply no going back. There have been a lot of questions and speculation over the years about the prescription medications that Heath Ledger had in his system. One thing that we do know is that celebrities are often overprescribed medications because of their celebrity status, and oftentimes it ends in devastating ways like this. To say that Heath Ledger had a successful acting career, massive understatement. He also left behind a beautiful daughter, and today we remember him.